So we'll open this workshop of the Blackstone Millville Regional School District. Today is Thursday, and it's February something. February
21st.
21st, thank you. February 21st. And this is the last of our cost center managers and budget presentations. And after our meeting tonight, we will release all of the presentations so people can see all of the cost center managers in 6 hours short. So, we'll start with technology.
Close my windows here. So, all of you have the budget template that was given you.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to start right there if you don't mind. I'll start at the left with the existing materials. The existing materials that you were given for the zero-based budget.
Nope, I don't. Does anybody?
Technology zero-based budget.
Yeah. All this.
Yeah, it should
That's
be
all the
behind your cover
existing.
page. Yep.
Yep. Anybody have any questions of that? No.
Nope.
I'll just move right on over to the new materials and the rationale for them. There are two that I left in here, and I'll get to those, but the Fab Schoolmaker is for Monica Carty's program, her tech program. It's actually really neat. It's 3D design using paper. So it cuts out the paper so that they can fold it into a 3D design. The environmental control AC portable units, we have 4 server rooms that have no environmental control, and that's been going on for, I think, the better part of 9 years. The middle school here is fine. It's got its own AC unit, self-controlled. It needs to kind of be like a biodome. I can tell you that at MES, it is unbelievably hot up there, and servers do not like heat. So this cost is for MES, the high school, and the complex. The complex is I think that room off the library, pretty much, we could shut the heat off in the library and just open that door. That's how warm it gets in there.
The, this was on last year's too, right?
It
And
was.
we didn't do it? Okay.
Is this a different unit? Or is
It's the same unit. It's the same. They went up a little bit in cost. And what we decided to do, just to avoid a lot of drilling and going through ceilings where at the high school we can't, is a self-contained unit, which is actually cheaper.
so that is not what we talked about last year?
It is.
Portable?
It's a portable unit, yeah. It looks like you know the ones you see at Home Depot, where you plug it into but this will have its own vent, and it's a bigger unit.
Right.
The field panel for the web server is at MES. That's the control unit that we asked for, I think, last year. I'm not sure we asked it for the year before. But basically what that does is it allows the administrators in that building or agreeing to be able to control the heating system, the ducts. And the reason why it needs to be replaced is because right now, whenever they need to move heat or turn it on, turn it off, or see where issues are, they literally have to call the company. And I believe the charge is $250 each call. Now, I'm going based on what I was told. I've never seen the bill, but the unit we cannot connect to. There's no real interface for us to do it. It's that outdated. Excuse me.
Excuse me, Jane, Jack is on his way.
Is that on my phone?
No, he'll be here in 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Newslear Pro is a piece of software that the high school and middle school has been using. I'm sure the principals told you about that. It's for their reading engagement. Virtual High School is, as you know, for credit recovery and courses that we don't offer with lower enrollment. Mike and Tanya and I worked together. They were looking at it individually, and we drove the cost down a little bit, but what they're looking for is increase the seats that they're using for this year.
They're share now, and they
They're
want their
sharing
own.
now, yeah, they
Right.
cut back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what this brings them to for the 15?
For
50
the
and 50,
15,000, it's 50 and 50. 50 seats and 50 seats
Because it was
in
in
each
theirs,
building,
too.
I was going to say, it was in their
Additional?
budget, right?
per semester.
So it's 25 additional building
Yes,
per semester.
correct.
So 15 brings us back to what we used to have.
2 years ago, I believe that's what they were at.
Sorry, one more clarity. So it's 50 seats total?
No,
Or
it's 50 in each
building?
school.
Okay.
Correct.
So right now, they have 50, and they're splitting it
They're
between
25.
two. This would give them 50 and 50.
Thank you.
So 100
That
total.
is what they said.
Yeah.
We're, Jason, just a point of clarification,
Mm-hmm.
news,
ELA.
ELA, is that,
Yeah.
I want to say Newsella, it sounds so much more fun.
People say
In
both.
virtual high school, those were both in
The
the
other
other
one as well.
budgets, right?
Yep,
Okay.
that's my note I have here, too.
duplicated, okay.
Yep.
So
And
it's
you'll
just
see a lot of
kind
those
of
even-
compiling the IT stuff
I
together.
think even
Yeah.
the Fab School one was.
Fab School, iExcel, you'll see a lot of those, a lot of the instructional support. Yep,
Okay.
and pop.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the, last year, this was in the budget, interactive projector replacement. Our schools, not all of them are as bad as the high school, but the high school has 12 different models of interactive boards and projectors, which is a little bit of a nightmare to manage. What I did last year is we brought 2 different vendors in to look at the building, make suggestions. At MassQ, I spoke with Epson, Hitachi, and trying to think of the company that was there, Sony, and came up with a plan again to save us some money and give interactivity with projection. So what we've done is currently what BMR does is when a smart board dies and the projector dies, we replace all of it. It's about $4,500. If we replace it with an interactive projector, which we just did 2 that died at the high school, they literally were installed this week. If we were to lease this, we're going to be saving, it's about $3,000 per room to do it in the high school. The projectors are low profile, so as you know, if you've ever walked in front of a projector, you see your silhouette, you see zero silhouette. They have pens that actually the projector picks up, and they can do their writing just like a smartboard without the cost of smartboard software. And it's really, it's actually, it's a good standard to go by. The bulbs are $58. Into our comparison, if we change a bulb out now, they can be as high as $188. So the savings would be it would be $1,500 per room, and there's 39 rooms.
So that's just the high school.
That's just the high school.
And it's 39
And
rooms.
we're currently putting together a plan for the rest of the schools, but right
And-
now they're
and
not as
we
bad as
didn't-
the high school.
So we don't have this in the budget, like, it's not in the budget currently, and now we're just doing different room. We have not had this in the budget before.
No, we've been replacing them as they die,
Yeah.
is what we've been doing. This would give us a standard in the high school going forward. The mounting brackets for the CAD project is just about complete at the high school in Mr. Pilling's room. These are the mounting brackets that we decided after the fact that we really need with the cost of the desktops that are sitting on desks. It would allow us to mount them underneath. Mr. Pilling tried to put together in wood shop a nice
Some.
design that they designed to keep them underneath, but we both agreed that we didn't think that that was safe enough. And at the cost, we thought that we'd put it in this year and see if we could get them mounted. Discovery Ed and Brain Pop are our digital curriculum software. Really a lot of videos tied to curriculum, and I'm sure the principals told you about it. The lease, the next line item you see, lease FY20, that is for our continued program of the one-to-one, so our 5th graders that are coming up to 6th grade will be getting Chromebooks that we lease. What we're doing in our junior and seniors that still have the old EduGears, we are going to be taking our seniors and try to see if we can cannibalize, but as I've said before, a Chromebook is really, it's almost a disposable device. They're at the end of their life. So we're going to try to save as many as we can, and those juniors will continue on into their senior year with their EduGears, and we will lease one more time for the 5th graders, and then what we'll do is we'll
And
start
then we're
rotating.
done, yeah, okay.
So that's for our incoming 6th graders for next year for their Chromebooks. We'd like to bring IXL back in.
Did we not have it?
I don't believe we brought it back this year. We're not using it.
Okay.
Cronus True Image is the imaging software for the tech staff. Renaissance Stars, as you all know, we have what we're actually working on is creating a data bridge. So when we have a student move a class, it happens twice a day. So that our student information system says, John Bozan has now went from this ELA class to the other. It just moves them seamlessly without a lot of manual effort that we're doing now. Voice over IP. We're currently meeting with vendors at looking at internal and cloud systems at a cost of $20,000. We should have that wrapped up in the next 2 weeks. Matt and I have our final 2 meetings in the next 2 weeks.
And is this for the full district?
It's district-wide.
And then we'll finally solve our phone issue?
Yes. I told you the story of my first day here, right? I picked up the phone and somebody else was on it.
Yep.
So, yes, it gets a little frustrating supporting and reaching people, but hopefully this will be the end of it.
Okay.
Google Data Studio is, to cut to the chase, is a program that I'm currently a beginner at, but a lot of district data specialists are starting to use. And what it allows us to do is give us live data analysis to our end users. And this is kind of a long-term goal for me because I'm still very much a beginner. I just got off the phone today with King Philip and Foster Gloucester, Rhode Island, that I'm in a kind of a collaborative with. And what we're looking at doing is allowing the district to be able to take DESI information, IXL information, whatever else the superintendent and administrators want to see in a one-stop shop, and be able to manipulate the data and see live data. The security portal has our data warehouse. We could do MCAS data. And I thought for the cost, it would be something really good to look at across the board, even in our financial program that we use, Tyler Technologies Budget Sense. Our copier lease is one of the ones that I left in here. Matt and I are currently negotiating a $10,000 savings, a new agreement with Axion that includes paper cuts that allow us to print manage better and see what's being printed, how often it's being printed. That's just under a $10,000 savings.
But that shouldn't be new.
Yeah, it's not. I accidentally left it in here, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to change the
Okay,
sheet. I'll
all right,
just
okay.
give it a talking point because it is a savings.
Okay.
Google App Maker is basically what you call a WYSIWYG. It is what you see is what you get type of app making, low code. I put that in here because I thought it was something also that the district could benefit from for designing internal programs for use. The VMware licensing is something we very much need. The district has had a virtual infrastructure for almost 5 years, and believe it or not, we're on the freeware license. So if something goes wrong and it's out of our, I want to say our knowledge scope, I literally have to hit Google or ask the tech director's list. And it kind of scares me. It hasn't happened yet, but I figured for $3,200 we can get a license to pay for our hosts. We've had a service contract, kind of a retainer with Acuity since I've been here, and I'd like to renew that. We do have a balance of hours. We may not need it, but I like to have it there for security, so that's why I put it on here. In the event we have a disastrous event that we don't have enough bodies to be able to help, that would be a huge help. I've added in here laptops for district tech and administration. That'll allow for mobility. Currently, the techs will go around, or you'll see the administrators going around. I want to give all of them a little more mobility. Right now, our staff in each building, the high school and middle school, currently have Chromebooks, so they have the mobility. And then there's VMware training that kind of goes back up to the VMware licensing. With the new licensing we're 4 versions back, is a totally different environment. So I put that in there so that the tech staff could be trained, get the professional development to get up to speed with the new virtual environment.
So that would be for all the staff?
Yes.
Okay.
The new staff that we are asking for is a district help desk technician and a data specialist. I think last year I had mentioned to everyone that we now have 1,500, the numbers have changed. We have just over 1,500 Chromebooks, and we have just under 1,400 PCs. There are 142 tablets, ranging from Android to Apple. And if you go back to DESI's old tech plan, they do state that for every 400 to 450 devices, you should have a technician. The data specialist, our needs for data analysis are only going to grow, especially with Jason's teaching and learning initiatives. I think that the data specialist position is well warranted. I think that person would be, along with me, work with Google App Maker as well as Google Data Studio. Any questions on any of the positions, or? Yes.
So you have existing staff
Yes.
and then new staff, is the technology aid going away? Or is this everything that would be in place next year with this approved?
If I understand it correctly, the technology aid would be the data specialist.
Yeah, it's been converted.
Yeah. There were discussions along the
It
lines.
has already been?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's already in the budget.
Yes.
Right.
That's part of the reconstruction.
Yep, it's part of the
Yeah.
reorganization.
All right, that's what I was going to
But
ask.
so tech aid
That's gone.
goes away.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And
Yep.
so have we posted that yet, or that is posted for July 1st?
It'll be posted
Until the
because,
budget.
yeah, and we have to go through a conversation with the Unit C
Yep.
group on that.
But it's looking to be implemented July 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the help desk technician is
That's a new
there?
position.
That's new.
That's
position.
new.
That's
The
one they
Yeah,
asked
we
for
talked
last
about that.
year, and we
Data specialist is not
It's
new. We
adding-
did that with the reorg.
got the
It was
cuts.
two.
Cut the axe.
Sorry, so sorry.
But isn't this a different number? Was it 40,000 though?
It was,
Last year's number?
Might have been a little more, I
I
don't
thought
know.
it was more.
It was. Not much, though.
So this would give
Two help desks.
two district help
Help
desks.
desk, that's,
Because right now we're at 1 for 1,500 devices, is that right?
For 3,042 devices.
But I have a question about that. So we can have 3,000, we can have 6,000. We only have 1,700 kids. So,
It's supposed to be 1 per 450.
and then what, 300 staff?
Yeah.
So
2,000.
the rest?
is everything being used? Do teachers have Chrome and tablets, Chrome and PCs?
if you look at the teachers at the middle school here, they have a PC in their room, and they also have a Chromebook for the mobility. The plan is to weed them out of their PCs and have their Chromebook. If you look at the cost of a PC, anywhere from $600 to $900 with a monitor, and a Chromebook at $200, now, it makes sense to make sure that we keep moving. We are G Suite. They are using their PCs, but as they die, or we create a deadline, the PCs are going to go away.
yeah, those were, can I just point of clarity, Sean? Those, we haven't purchased and put in any new ones. Those have been here since, right?
Correct.
Those are over
So
Those
the
have been here,
process you're
Jason.
working through now is just phasing them out as they die.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And the labs, I believe, well, at the high school, Mr. Dudek was adamant that we don't need the lab anymore, and we looked, and it wasn't being used. There's no specialized software in it because they've been doing G Suite for so long.
Yeah.
There was no need for the two virtual labs, so we pulled them out, and actually, one of them now is a green room for Mr. Gaudette's TV production.
So, and the interactive projectors are compatible with Chrome?
Yes. So we're piloting right now you've heard Chromecast. There is actually a Chromecast for Education app that ties to Classroom. So if the teacher's Chromebook is actually, or even their PC is tied to the projector, the student, they can say, go ahead, you can connect, and they actually connect to Classroom and ask to connect to the projector. And the teacher has to say accept or deny, and it goes up on the screen. So the projector, it's really the software that does it, but the projectors, we could set up Wi-Fi as well. Straight to them instead of through, but I like the security part, and they can accept the request.
Do you have a final number for this, Sean?
I do. Figures. My Mac just locked up.
Well, it's weird, because some's already in some of the.
Well,
others.
I was going to, once he gave me a number, I was going to ask which, if they were included or not included. But rather than,
What was included?
if the, like the virtual high school and
They're in
those
ours.
things, my guess is that you have a total of what's in this column, and then we can minus out the things we talked about, such as the software and the, like the data specialist is accounted for on another
That's right, yeah.
budget page, but what does this column equal?
I had to restart my Mac, I'm sorry. I should have
that's
wrote it on my
okay.
sheet.
I actually was looking to see if Jack was figuring it out for us, but he didn't pull out his handy-dandy calculator yet, so. Or if he was doing it in his head, because he's that good at math.
Because even like the
Well,
copier lease renewal is going to throw that number off, because you said that's already
Yeah.
existing.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a number that
Well, that's
doesn't
what
have
I'm
a
saying,
copy
Some
on
of
it.
it- on
this
our
is a
current
hard
budget,
one to
right?
just total. We almost have to look at it piece by
Broken
piece.
down into other lines.
And say, you know, where is it somewhere,
A lot of the tech software is
Right.
included in the school budget.
Right, and
Right.
then repeat
Some
it.
of it's in the central office.
Right.
Line, yeah,
so it's a weird, so really for
a little funky.
our discussion tonight, it's the issues of the, the interactive projectors aren't anywhere else, the air conditioners aren't anywhere else, the web server is nowhere else, the
Help
the
desk.
training programs, the
Help
help
desk
desk
person.
technician,
Laptops for
Right.
district. That's probably
correct.
Yep.
The Chromebook lease.
So maybe for
So the
when,
training, the Google Data Studio training, the Google App Maker training would be for like you and that data specialist?
The VM would be for the help desk technicians.
Everybody, right,
Yes.
that one would be for everybody.
The Google Data Studio and Google App Maker would be the data specialist as well as myself.
Okay. And that's, so you're both, so it's not 2,500 each, it's
No,
2,500?
that's complete.
Okay. So I ask you all the time, I'll ask you again, if you had to prioritize the things on this list, not including the teacher, not including the, like, Newsy LA and virtual high school, and the things that you need to run your shop, what's the highest priority for you?
Can I split staff out? I would say staffing
Yeah,
is
you
number
can
one.
take staff out, yeah,
Staffing is number one.
yeah.
I can tell you that our help desk stats have not got better, even with the tech from last year, because of the additional Chromebooks. Just to give you an idea, every time we touch a Chromebook when it's broken, it's 20 minutes. That's just to look at, box up, and maybe send out a claim. And then when we get it back, it's another 20 minutes. We've got 20 hours just from December to last Monday. That is on the claims that we had just from the middle school. I didn't include the high school. But outside of the staffing, the Chromebooks would be first, because that continues our initiative.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Second would be my interactive projectors at the high school. They're just well overdue.
But the Chromebooks, there should be money in the current budget, because we renewed this time. So,
But what we're doing is remember, the first,
3-year,
They were
Right.
bought outright. They weren't
Right,
leased.
right.
And now they're at their end of life.
Right.
So we're kind of starting with a lease that we should have had, oops, excuse me.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I guess I'm saying if there's a lease payment already in there, this lease is not over and above the old lease payment, or is it?
No, we're,
No, so it should already be,
Well, it should be in addition, because the lease
It is in
payment that
addition.
we have now is for the existing
whole class.
Chromebooks that are still going to be
Correct.
used, and now we're adding new Chromebooks
so
to be
next year you will
leased.
be correct.
next year I'll be.
Next year will be.
You're rolling
Next
them
year I'll
up.
be
And
correct.
360.
You're rolling them up, and then you're putting a new,
Exactly.
Okay.
We'll start a new lease, same, it'll
All
be
right.
basically the
Grade
same
6.
cost with brand-new devices, which was the original plan. So to give you your number finally, and thank you for your
Yep.
patience, I'm actually kind of embarrassed because we tell our teachers have a backup plan, and I was going to write that number down on this. and I
No
didn't.
worries, no worries.
The number, not including the copier agreement, is $174,086.
Sean, does that include the data specialists? Because you can back that number out, too.
That does
Somewhere
not
else.
include the data
Okay,
specialists.
all right.
That's just the incident, I don't want to call them incidentals, but the stuff above new staff.
Just the materials.
Correct.
Oh, okay, not
Yeah.
even the technician, okay.
But a
just
lot of
above
that, remember, a lot of
It's
that's
other
backed out of
places,
this because
right.
it's in the other cost centers.
Correct. That's one of the things Matt and I have been talking about when Wen was here. It was in different cost centers, so
Right.
we were toying with where we were going to put stuff.
I actually like it here, because it's easier to understand here, as opposed to, I want half of this, and they're gonna get half of this, and, so from a number perspective, I like it here. From a description, I like hearing from the principals what they need in terms of
How
technology.
they
So I
use it.
understand why it's both
Yeah.
places, but I kinda like the number, the whole
Clean
number as
number
opposed
somewhere
to
like 3.
Yeah,
3/4 of my
that's tricky,
time.
yeah.
But do you think for our purposes, when we're going to sit down on the 27th, we could get 2 columns? Like this,
Well,
like
we're gonna talk about a
something
whole
that's,
different way of doing, so this,
Okay.
so yeah,
just so we know what is what attached to what building
yeah.
and what is attached just to the technology.
Yeah,
When John did that a little bit, if you read the high school, middle school, but it's hard to.
the
Yeah,
rationale.
you still have to pull them out of it.
Any other questions, concerns, issues, anything else?
I'm just wondering how, is the environmental control, I was just saying to Tara, I don't remember cutting that last year, because Sean was kind of adamant about
The air
the
conditioning?
fact that the environmental control, yeah.
Yeah, because we
would
thought
be-
everything was going to like burn
And
down.
then then Aaron mentioned a different
The
kind of
portable
unit
ones,
than
right.
you were thinking about.
The one over the
And
doors.
so I
or
didn't,
whatever.
I don't remember cutting that, but.
The mini splits,
Well, clearly we did.
but those aren't mini splits.
It's all good.
Would that be number 3 on your priorities?
Is this something,
what's
is
that?
that something?
Would that be number 3 for your
We
priorities?
could
Yeah,
purchase this
3 or
one?
4.
3 or 4?
I mean, to be
Like, could we find
frank
the
and
money
earnest,
for that right now?
it's gone on so long.
Right
Like,
now?
we have 2
Or should we
older
wait?
virtual servers that we're trying to, and
This-
it's on my
Tomorrow morning?
sheet to get done this year, is to virtualize them.
Season.
They're out
So
of
you-
space, but they really should have lasted another couple of years. For every year that's gone by is like 3. They were just in an environment that's,
With
every day we come in, I'm
numbers
like,
are looking.
okay,
Burning them out.
I do worry about it quite a bit, but once we virtualize them, it's all going to be on one server, and it still needs to be cool.
Yeah, right.
And hopefully, over the next 4 or 5 years, all we'll have in here is an Active Directory server, and everything will be up in the cloud, and we can drive the cost down on hardware.
That's happening in a
Put it
lot
in the
of
classroom
places.
instead.
Happening in a lot of places.
That'd be nice.
Who's got the server for the cloud? That's all I want to know. All right, anybody else?
So I just want to clarify, the service contract for Acuity, is that how you say it?
Yep.
It services what?
So, it was put in place 4 years ago, and I'll be quite honest with you, it was 40 hours. We've only used 4 in
Are
that
those,
time.
I feel like you just used that in reference to
It's,
what is that servicing?
it's there for when we need another body. A body with a lot, like an
So-
engineer, if we have a core switch that we cannot fix, infrastructure,
If our
a
system goes down.
disaster, we lose 3 servers at once, so I don't have to go to Jason and say, we're going to be down for 2 weeks?
So is it hours?
Yes, it's hours.
It's hours
It could be- it
of
could be used-
manpower?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it could be an
I was
engineer.
using that.
And we've
I mean, it
used
could be
4
even a
out of
web
40.
designer if we needed it, but I wouldn't use the hours for that. It could be anything.
And this,
Yeah.
for scenario purposes, in this past year, have you used it?
Like I said, we've used 4 hours in the last 2 years.
4?
And they
4
just
hours.
accumulate, we don't
They
use them?
stay there as a retainer.
Okay.
Sean, just one point of clarity, though. We've had the 5,000 for acuity in the budget the past
We have.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't be a new
This is
line
not
item. This
new.
is an existing
That
line
was the
item.
second
Was it
one, I'm sorry.
expiring, or it just rolls over every year?
It rolls over every year
Until the 40 hours.
until it's gone. Although there's a lot of companies that aren't doing that anymore.
So that isn't new. Sean, can
It
we
is
go
not new.
through these new materials and just make sure we have
Yep.
truly what's new? Because
I'll
not
tell you
everything on
what's-
here is new.
What's not new is the service contract, the copy renewal,
Wait a minute, hold on.
The
Start from the top.
69,000,
the 69,000, the 5,000 for the service contract.
yep, those are not new.
Those are not new.
Where are
Everything else is,
Just the other items are in the school lines as well. So the mounting brackets for CAD, that's new.
those have to
new.
be new.
The lease FY20, that's new,
yes,
right?
correct.
Okay.
The rest is new.
Okay.
So the copier lease, you're saying that's new?
It is not
Not
new.
new.
It's not new, yeah, I crossed it off earlier, okay.
So right now it would probably be $79,000.
So does that mean
Besides
we'll
this,
find it in
10,000.
this level service?
Yes.
That, actually, the 69,000 is the savings.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The 69,000 is the savings, it's not the cost.
Excuse
It's
me.
listed as a cost.
That's the cost as.
That's the cost with the
with the
With the
savings
10,000
applied,
savings.
yes, sorry.
Okay. That's what I thought initially, but,
You're correct.
all right.
Brain pop is
Just in one more point of clarity, the VMware licensing, maintenance, and support, that 3,200, that's new.
No, it's in here.
It's in here.
VMware licensing, maintenance and support, 3,200.
No, that's, you're looking at,
Are you looking at
That's
the
new.
zero, or are you looking at the
Oh, I
level?
don't know.
It's new.
That's new.
That's
Okay.
new.
Never had
Oh,
that licensing.
We never had that license
Okay.
before. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
All right, that's,
but brain pop, so I know these are little numbers, but just for the lack of confusion, brain pop is in both. So isn't that
When
something?
we started the discussions, I saw them across the lines, and I had been talking with each of the principals,
It's the same number.
and seeing the numbers, we all agreed that we would leave it there. We talked with Matt, and we would have the discussion going forward. But their numbers were bigger. They didn't accumulate to 8,000, it was more than that. When you do the type of district license, I don't want to call it a site license, because it's not, it's cheaper for us to do it that way.
right.
But we did leave that cost in their cost centers to have the discussion of where we're going to put it going forward.
Yeah, so it's almost like when we see it in the school, we need to see it as a program within the school. When we see it here, we need to see the price of it.
They give more of the rationale behind why we're using it,
sure.
so it seemed fair to leave it there.
Yeah, yeah,
Almost everything is cheaper in bulk,
correct.
like BJ's.
It's like going to BJ's.
So Sean, on that 174.86, that was just in materials, we can actually back out roughly 72,000 out of that. When you take the copier lease renewal and the service contract out.
That didn't include this
I'll give you an
copyright.
exact
Said he
number.
backed that
Oh,
up.
you already backed
That was
that.
already out.
So that is 24. I'll give you an exact number.
I just want to make sure we've got that.
It would be $168,486.
168, say it again, I'm sorry.
$168,486.
On the zero-based budget, the last page, it shows the phone system for the VoIP is 50,000, but on the new materials, it says 20.
So that's on the level services?
No, on the.
Yeah.
This is new, zero-based.
Yeah, this is 0.
No, it should be 20. It's not on mine. I can tell you that it's 20.
It's 20, so there's a typo
Yep.
on this back page.
Correct. Now, bear in mind, that's a
good
lease.
one. Brings it
We're
down.
leasing, we're going to be leasing that equipment, so.
Okay. It's not even on level, right? Because we don't have it.
It's not on,
We don't have
so
one.
why
It's on the
isn't,
back page.
am I missing the copier on level
I don't see it there either.
for 69? That's just a big number if we're subtracting it out and it really is supposed to be in here.
Is it this 270 plus management console? No, that's 6. No, I guess not. That's 69,700.
It just, it's something we
12.
definitely have.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's not in the level.
copier lease
Oh, wait.
signed, FY 15. I don't see it as a current,
No, it's an error. It's not in there.
so are we making? But are we making a mistake by saying we're subtracting out of this number because it's not in this?
Well, it,
It's got to be in a different line somewhere.
There is a $69,000, but it says 270 plus management console.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, we just saw
Yeah.
that one.
That's not it, right?
Grade 9 and 12. Do you know where that is, Sean?
I don't, Matt, I saw it after Matt and I met, and, because I had the same question, where is it on the level services budget? This level services budget is what was exported out of our budget sense
Right,
system.
right.
So I
Maybe
would
it was a
rather.
Maybe
different line.
it missed
Yeah,
a
I
line,
would-
might have missed a line.
Matt might know which line item it is, and it may not come up, it may be split.
Right.
I'll find that out. It's the copy release. Okay.
Gotta be there, though.
Okay.
It's not like we are inventing
And
new
it would be
ones.
79 for
That's right.
level, right?
It's here, not in, okay.
So, but were any of these, none of, so these programs that the schools asked for, are any of them the special ed ones? They don't, are we missing the special ed ones?
They haven't asked for anything new.
Yeah, so these are core tech programs, and instructional tech programs. The special ed department asked for instructional software different from what's here. There will be some overlap, by the way. I mean, they will use some of the same, like IXL, for instance, that was one that was on both. News ELA is one that was on both. But there are some that were different that Jill had asked for.
I think so. Okay.
I'm just a bit confused by Discovery Ed and Brain Pop. Those are new materials, right?
But they're not.
2 years ago, we had them,
I think they were cut last
year they
year.
were cut.
Yeah.
All right.
So technically, they're new, Jack. I mean, they're not,
Because I have them both in level services.
Yeah, they are both on here.
And I don't have Discovery Education at the same cost in level services as it is up here. It's at 8,200 there and 8,000 here. And then they're
This-
also both in the zero base.
Do you know when those cuts were made, if they were, so this is an actual export right from Budget Sense? I'm wondering if they were actually ever physically, taken out
Oh,
of that.
yeah, they might have
Do you
a
know what I
zero
mean?
next to them in the
Maybe
next column.
Or they just
but
plan
they-
not to expend and buy
Yeah.
it. Do you know what I mean? But they were put in the budget initially,
All right.
but not allowed to expend the 8,000 or whatever it
But I
was.
think we would have the other things in here, like the air conditioning, and like that stuff would have been in here
If that was the case.
if it wasn't, if it's
I don't know.
the case
But
of
you all
not being
need to
taken
speak up
out.
just a little bit, because we're speaking to our audience, not just our, just saying. We all got quiet all of a sudden. Not sure. We'll have to,
Well, one of the things, it might be helpful to mention this now, and we don't need to leave the tech budget specifically, but looking forward, Matt and I have started the process, which we'll talk about when we look at the other central office function codes. We've started going through line by line, every single line within every single function code. And not just looking at the money that was put in the final FY19, but then also looking at, behind that, every single expenditure that was charged to every single line in FY19, so that we can really figure out if we've spent the right amount of money in each line, or if we
Right.
need to move money from one line to another. So I only mention that now to say, technology will absolutely go through that same process.
Right.
Where we will see what was a budget in FY19, what was spent, and then all the details behind each one of those lines, and then what the recommended, or you'll see on the central office handout, what the FY20 modified actually is. Meaning, can we, based on our historical trends, reduce money that was budgeted for in that particular line, period, or can we move it somewhere else where we need to put it? So we'll be putting every single function code in every line or account number within each function code through that exact process. It just takes time. It took us 2 hours to get through just school committee and the superintendent office. So, you know, we'll work through every single one of those. It's just going to take us some time to do that. But tech will be part of that.
Yeah.
So I think, Erin, to your point, I think some of those issues will come up,
Yeah.
like if
Right,
that was
'cause
in
we're
there.
already in- yeah.
Yeah. Or, Jack, why is there 8,000 in there now, and I thought we cut it?
Anybody else?
So on the zero-based number, sorry, Jean, zero-based technology, there are 4 environmental control AC portable units, but on the front page, we're asking for 3, I think?
I condensed them all into one.
Oh, but it says in 4 server rooms, so 3 buildings, but 4 server rooms? Okay, sorry, I missed the,
That's fine.
I just saw the
condensed them
3.
So there weren't,
No, I just saw the 3 buildings, and then saw 4 listed out, and that didn't add up,
I almost
but,
did it with the training as well, but they're each different.
okay.
And like Google Data Studio is
apologize.
different than AppMaker. So just to have one item without explaining.
Yeah, it's nice in detail.
Anybody else? Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
I hope you feel better.
I feel great.
Thank you for particularly coming in on vacation week.
He's looking at you like,
What?
he's looking at you like, I'm not on vacation.
I know he's not on, I know he's not on vacation, but it's still a slower week to ask people to come out at night, so thank you. Okay. You're on.
All right, so this is a little bit of kind of what I just explained a moment ago. I thought it might be helpful for everyone to kind of see a little bit about not just what is here in front of us on these central office function code pages, which captures the budget of each particular area that is tethered back to central office quote-unquote spending or expenditures, but also to explain how we can use this process that Matt and I started to help us get ready for our budget workshop on February 27th. So it's a little bit of a 2-for-1 in terms of that, kind of from that perspective. So you will notice we only got through the school committee and the superintendent function codes, which the school committee is function 1110, and then superintendent office is 1210. And so what you'll notice is 4 columns. You'll see FY19, that was the final approved number that we just exported right from budgets.
Do you want it up there, or does it?
I didn't send, because there were so
Okay,
many
so many
pages, I didn't
pages,
send that piece forward
Okay.
to Jesse,
Yep,
but.
yep.
So the FY19 is what was finally approved in that, through that budget cycle, last budget cycle. The FY20 is what the level service amount would be. The FY20 zero base is what
We hope
the,
for.
yep, what
We
the
dream
additional
about.
asks would be. And then you see this new column called FY20 modified. So if we think about the level service and the zero base, the modified is like the in-between column, which basically says, looking at our spending patterns and where we've needed to expend in each one of these accounts versus what we've budgeted, this is actually what it looked like. And so you'll see some lines are the same, but some lines are different.
Significantly.
Right. And so you'll notice, if you look at the end of the school committee line, the FY19 final was $74,693. You'll see the FY20 modified is $85,194, although the zero-based was $101,972. So in going through each one of these lines and paring things down, and eliminating certain expenditures, we were able to get that number to $85,194. Now, if you're wondering, well, what is all of that? Like, what's behind that? If you go to the back part of your packet, I highlighted, you may have noticed when you looked at the PDF, there were two little highlighted pieces. One said District 0, and then the other one said District Modified. So this will show you, if you look at the District Modified, this will show you what every expenditure is within that 1110 function code or that school committee function code. You'll see the descriptions. This is, as I was mentioning, each, and these are smaller function codes, but each one of these took us about an hour to get through. But I think at this stage, that's the only way to do this. We really have to go through every single line to look at exactly what was budgeted in 19 and what's been spent, and where the needs really are, to see where we need to either shift money from one account to another, or we can eliminate altogether, or places maybe where we need to add. So what we are thinking of doing moving forward is, for our 227 budget workshop, is having this done for each one of the function codes, so that the committee can basically have two kind of packets. The first packet would be the completed this for every function code, which has the modified number and what was reduced or added or moved, so that we can start to drill that zero base number down and get somewhere between the, level service and the zero based. And then the cover page from each of the cost centers with the costs to each one of those materials and positions. And so what I want to be able to set up for our workshop on the 27th isn't the committee doing that work, but having that work done and then making the difficult decisions of what do we prioritize. But I'm certainly open to feedback on that. Having watched some of the budget workshops from the last budget cycle, and watching the committee flip back and forth through and look at these individual lines, and my hope is to take that legwork away and do that, and then just essentially have the committee look at it and respond to it, and then prioritize from there.
Is it possible on this breakout to show what the FY19 number and the new number? Just because, on this top page, when the school committee line went from 17,000 down to 9,000, can you just show where you cut
Yes.
on this? Just so we can see where, and I'm not saying that's wrong, I think it's probably great.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to see
On the
where
modified.
We put
Yeah,
it
on
in
the
a little
modified,
note piece, but
or
we can put
both.
those notes next to this. Is that what you were? So we only got through 2 of the function codes, so
Yep.
it's hard, it doesn't show as clear. So are you asking, Tara, just let me check my understanding, for a section next to that modified number that would show what was modified and what was moved?
Right, so where it says amount, so
Yeah.
this is obviously what you're proposing, would be the modified amount, correct?
Yep.
Can you show what the current amount is that we spend on that line?
The FY19 is
Yeah.
what was the final amount that was that was budgeted
No, but she's looking
for.
at these
On this,
sheets.
on this
I'm
detailed
sorry.
So when
one.
you
Oh, I
go through
apologize.
thi-
I
through
thought you were
this
looking at
sheet-
this.
No, when you go through
No, I
this
referred
sheet,
to that one, but
and it does have the notes on the side.
Yeah, the notes are great.
But it would,
Gotcha. So
You just show
put
the
the
price,
FY
two
'19
different-
final in that
Yeah, just so we
detail.
can see, oh, we did save 3,000, we cut
Right.
something there,
So
you know.
we-
we cut-
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you for the clarity on that. 19 final. So we'll add that to the detail sheet.
Yeah,
Okay.
please, thank you.
So in developing this format, will you have all of the new requests in here? Because this is the zero base.
Yes,
So it would have all, can we highlight those?
we did. Yeah, so when we see them in the next, we started that process. We
Okay.
actually did, and then we color coded. So
Okay,
we did
perfect.
green as an addition, and then red as a reduction.
Okay.
And then we flagged the new, it's just, it doesn't show
On
well
the
on
black
this
and
because we only
white.
got through two of the, yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
two of the function codes.
You know the 27th is only next week?
Say we need help with this.
That's a lot of
Matt
work.
need help with this.
Well, Matt need help. They're doing it
We are
together.
doing it, yes. We
doing
are
it together.
we're doing it together.
They're a team,
Absolutely.
if Matt returns from vacation.
It is, but it's the only way to do it, and we had to pull, so we also pulled our accounts payable individual into this, because, so, this is what's here, but I want to know what we spent.
Right, right.
So we then had essentially another bucket of data to say, okay, so if we look at, contracted services and, the school committee line, we had budgeted 35,500, but we wanted to know, okay, well, A, what is that? And then B, what have we spent to date on that, and what are we projecting to spend? It's really the financial, analysis piece of it.
Yep.
It's
Which we hope is
super
going on
tedious,
all along,
but
all the time.
but it's,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. We don't have a financial analyst, we do that work, so it just takes time to wade through it.
So what is that line that it's going up?
Because
Why
you're
are we
asking
going
for
from
more.
6 to 53?
So I'll show you, go
Is that
to
our
your,
legal- That's what I'm trying to find, but I'm not.
go
good
to
at it.
your district, you can look at the District 0.
Yeah,
It'll show
that's where I
you,
am.
District 0.
and go to that function code, it's the first, see the school committee function code there, it's the first bucket, the 1110.
Oh,
And then you want to go down to, where is it here?
I didn't think it cut off.
You have to look at the account number to match it.
I didn't think it cut off at the spot we
501.
need them.
no,
No?
405. So this right here, 405.
05, is it the, okay, so this is, that's the
Services,
accounting
the audit.
services.
Where
Yes.
is that, though?
It's right,
There, it's the two lines under school.
yep, it's the two lines right here. These are the accounting services, right here. The
Oh, right
accounting
here.
service audit
Okay.
and the accounting services.
Which makes sense, because we had
So
all
they
those
cost
audits
us-
that we're back to.
Okay,
Yep.
Awesome.
all right.
So then you can see exactly,
Where they,
and then if we, so what Matt and I did was if we saw something,
that
you
we're
know,
clearly
like
paying more for.
COSCAP membership, well, what's that?
Yeah.
So we then had to, go into and peel that layer of the onion back.
What is ESY, since it's in here all over the place?
It's the extended,
Extended
Yes.
school year.
We pay a lot of money for that.
we will have a savings next.
Yes, we will,
Is
9,500.
this summer.
Extended school,
Where is it?
Yeah, but why would it be in the,
Does it get put into the assistant's salary,
Assistant.
the special ed?
oh,
What?
on this.
But it's just a lot in
Cost center.
here. It's in here a lot, and I'm wondering, didn't know why it
So
was
what we
in
could,
here.
and tell me if this is what, Tara, I think this is what you were saying. So what we can do is this detailed sheet
Yep.
by, like, function code or cost center.
Right.
Maybe it's special.
And then we'll add the column of, like, the description, what was moved here to there, that kind of thing, or what was cut.
Okay.
We'll have that color-coded. And then we'll just make sure that all the new materials and positions are flagged so you can
Yes.
see them. Is that what the committee's?
Yeah,
That's,
that'd be,
that's what I'm
Okay.
asking, yes.
So then really, we can condense those two kind of packets into one.
Into one.
Okay, got it.
I mean, it's gonna be more things to look through, but we're flipping back to them anyway.
Yeah.
So why not just have that
And it's already in there.
correct?
So we've started some of that, but, okay. I just want to make sure
It's
we're
really
done.
about matching that, there's three numbers that differ. If you look at the school committee section,
Right.
everything looks the same, and then there's the third,
The-
fourth, and
right,
fifth number from the
100s,
right.
200s, 400s, 500s, 600s.
And so everything with those numbers,
Then go
that's,
to the
they
back.
equal that. Okay.
I've just figured that out.
Well, it was good that the one that we just started with, there was only 2.
I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
They're there again.
I know, it's a lot of,
Are here again.
yeah, we're gonna find out the,
Like the Brain Pop and Discovery Ed are here again. It's just they like to pop up everywhere. And IXL, but is that maybe for special ed?
well, that's the
Well,
other
there is
reason
a
we're
lot
going
of-
line by
right.
line,
Yeah.
because we need to make sure that there's not a duplication of anything.
So understanding that, and I think I'm good understanding that.
Okay.
What are district needs for next year?
So we pushed.
District-wide.
Yep, and so we actually pushed those out more or less to the actual buildings themselves. So the instructional work, the assessment work, all of that, curriculum development, all of that work we pushed out into the schools. And so those numbers will show up in those individual cost centers. For any new, at least teaching and learning materials, and the facilities and maintenance work, was also pushed out into the schools. So if we needed another groundskeeper, we put that in there, in the high school. So we also pushed, the custodial support, that was requested, that's out in the schools. The nursing, that was out in the schools. What is not here, we have not done the facilities plan work yet. I want to be really upfront about that. I think the committee knows, but just so everybody at home knows too, we have not done that full capital. And it sounds like, based on the town meeting we were at the other night, that, that's being recommended everywhere.
Yeah.
At least by our financial backers. Unibank had made that recommendation to the town of Blackstone as well, put that capital plan together.
Yep.
And that's what we need to do on the school side too, is working exactly on that. So that is not reflected here, any significant changes in capital expenses.
So there is nothing district-wide that we haven't essentially already seen in the reorganizations.
No, and that's the other piece I think it's
Good.
important to know. All the things that we've needed to adjust in central office, we did through reorganizing.
Right.
It wasn't new money. So that work was done ahead of this and is reflected in here, those changes.
So these first 2 are what you've done so far.
That's right. Yep.
School committee and superintendent's office. Okay. Can I ask why you would need less money?
I did not.
You just moved it into another line. It's still on there. It's still on there.
It is.
My,
Oh,
yeah.
stipend, okay.
I moved it there, and I
It's still
didn't.
less. It's
I
still
know, I
less.
didn't make any assumptions. I left
It's still less.
everything the way it is right now.
It still is.
It is. But so
Okay. All
FY
right.
'19 is what was budgeted. That's
Yep.
not what was
Well,
negotiated.
right.
So what was negotiated is reflected in the FY '20 modified. I reduced what the
Makes
increase
sense.
would be, because that's up to the committee.
Yep.
So I left that the same. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Okay.
does, but,
I don't make any assumptions.
okay.
So
Fair enough.
on this front page,
Yep.
I understand what you're talking about, the function codes, the 641. So 641, 1100, 641, 1210. So scholarship fund, this is saying we only budgeted $500 this year. Just so you know, we granted 2 at $500 each. So that's 1,000. And then you have it on the modified as 0. So I'm wondering what but if you go to modified on this,
But if you go in here.
I know
it's
this
there,
is
and
a
it's
small
11,
number,
it's
but
125.
it is in here as 1,025 on the modified. Is it moved to another function?
Can you just show me the line you're on, Erin? I'm sorry, just so I
So-
can look at the same thing.
Scholarship fund was 500.
Oh, I see, I'm sorry, yep.
But we
Okay.
It's on
actually gave 2.
1210.
So,
So that number is wrong, that's our mistake, but they were trying to zero it. And what is happening with these is they're paid a year in the rear. So last year, when it was recommended we cut it, we couldn't, we had already
given it.
granted those two $500 each.
And we just
So-
approved it last week for.
Though, right, and we just approved it last week to go forward for next year, which would,
Oh, okay.
but we already approved, again, so next year's budget is going to cover
This year's people.
this year.
So that has to be in at 1,000. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Okay.
If it's something we're not going to continue, then
We'll have to not grant them next year.
next year is when it would,
Yeah.
it would go away,
Right.
which is what we
Now I
just
get it.
signed last
Okay.
week.
Right.
So that line needs to go to 1,000.
And, yeah, but somewhere it's zero.
But
and
in your
somewhere else it's
modified budget-
1,025.
But in the district modified, you do have it in here
We've got it up.
as 1,025.
Yeah, because I circled it
It's,
right here.
Oh, I
You
see
have it
it.
in
Yep.
as 1,025.
I see it
But
here.
on this front page, it says zero.
Okay.
But it's
Okay, yeah, I have to see it on
1210, 641, 12.
Is it the same
Oh,
line?
I'm just trying to see if he moved it. 12.
641.
It looks
I
like
wonder if it
it's
was moved into,
somewhere else.
because this is school committee. The other
All
one,
right,
is
now
the
I
other
can't
line
read
is
it
the
'cause I wrote on
superintendent
it.
line.
Maybe he
is it
moved
under
it.
school committee?
I think he
instead of
moved
under
it to
scholarship fund?
1110.
Yeah, it must have been moved out of 1210.
Well, it makes sense,
Into
because that makes
1110.
sense. Where
Yeah,
do we think he moved, which one?
to 1110, 641.
Oh, okay.
But that line is down to 9,000.
Yes, so you have to look at 1110, 641 to see
It's
what
in
was
here.
in that line before.
11, 10, 641.
I think he just moved
So
it.
it's-
Gift
Gift
for
for
retirees.
retirees.
Oh, do you know what it was? Ads, bids, this is where we cut. Your ads, bids.
Mass ads,
Yep,
whatever
there
that
was
is.
a significant amount of money in that
What
we
is it?
reduced.
Senior
Well, it was
breakfast
17,000 for this year. So we cut a big chunk of that out,
lunch. Okay.
unless you think we need it again. I don't know.
Where are you?
Well,
Was that our advertisement for superintendent?
We don't need that then.
Cut.
Please, for the love of God.
so,
We absolutely don't need that money in that line.
oh, I see.
The 17, so we reduced that to $9,383. The big chunk was in that ads.
And
and
it
bids.
looks like things were moved into 11, 10, 641 school committee.
Yeah.
The 24,610 number, I'm going to be honest with you, the zero base 24,610 is probably a healthier number. It's just where money comes from for the important stuff. That's all I'm going to say. Back to the front page where he had the zero base.
To 9, where he has it
Down to 9.
I don't know.
We just,
Okay. So are you recommending that we move that back?
well,
Not to the 24, maybe, but I don't know.
At least the 17.
We'd have to look.
We can
Okay.
look and see what's in there.
All right. So, well, let
Put a
us, let me
question
know
there.
what you want to do with that.
I'm over here with 26 different colored pens trying to.
Oh,
So, yeah, so that was,
that's what I'm
we
saying,
had
it
a
would be
whole,
helpful with colors. so
12,
color-
10, 641 is just goes away.
Yeah,
is
'cause
really
that's
what happened.
zero.
12, 10.
641, there is nothing in it.
I am totally on the same page now. So it's
It
not
just
really
took me a
zero,
while.
it's just moved.
yeah, we moved it. So that was, so we
Move
were,
it to where it should be.
Yeah.
on our, we have handwritten notes on the side of ours, where we went through this, and it was all, it was all color-coded. And so adding the notes to where things are moved to will be key. So that when we start looking at this, we can see where we moved it to. Or if we just straight reduced it. We also, just so folks are aware, crosswalked everybody's salaries. So we met with Monique to make sure that we had all of the administrator salaries correct that were in each of the school-based and the central office numbers to make sure
That's
that those
good.
were accurate. So just FYI. Yeah, a lot of it's just analysis and reconciling and then getting the detail behind the numbers.
Oh, that's where it is?
Hold on. So it's 1450. 1450?
That's not me.
Where are you? Oh, you don't have your pages together.
1450. Yeah, I'm in modified. That's why it wasn't not. So 1450.
The modified will show any of the changes.
Well, the copy, she just found the copy, or at least.
Okay, yep.
64, yeah.
Figured
so
it was in
that
the central,
isn't- yeah,
71,000?
central office
69.
line.
Is it?
It's not.
And is the training for custodians like making sure they can do the asbestos stuff or the? Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
The stuff we're having them do anyway, but clearly we didn't ever budget for?
No, and we need to,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Do we have in here your whatever that superintendent induction cost, because it's 3
that in the
years,
school
right?
Should be in school committee, right?
3,000, I think, a year. Yeah,
Is it
it's
in
somewhere
here?
in school committee, I think.
Okay, as long as it's in here.
Yep, it's somewhere in school committee.
Annual enrollment?
Look at this, we're trying to
Yeah,
make
it's
everybody
probably
cut,
there.
and we're like, do we
Yep.
have this in there? Do we have this in there?
Yes, I believe that's it, Tara.
As part of
No,
that?
this is very helpful.
This
I
is
just want
great,
to say
yeah.
that this, for years, people have said, well, what is in other school committee? And, you know, you would get a random, you'd get 3 or 4 things off the top of the head that could be remembered. This guy's is a plethora of information. It really is.
Yeah.
Once you know how to read the function codes.
I
and
know,
the-
it's tricky.
But it's all
Maybe space
here.
a line in between.
Yeah,
This
between each
saved
Start a
one.
new one, just
because-
to space a line.
Yeah.
Even 3 years from now,
Yeah.
when you're like, where was that before?
Because see how
This
there's
is
like
important.
space in between here, space a line.
Is that possible?
Yeah. Space a line?
What?
What? Oh, we're having two different conversations?
We also can do, yeah, if you want to,
Is there-
if it would be
can you
easier
put
to
a
have
space
devices
between the
for the next
codes?
meeting. I don't know, it may or may not be, but
I'm trying
It's an
to,
Excel
bracket of
spreadsheet.
maybe just for this, so you've got it all, we'll color code everything.
Yeah.
Might be easier, because we can shade all the columns for each of the function codes, and then like highlight in yellow or red or,
So for me, so this line that's here, like the 119.8.
Yep.
Then I had the 119.8, and then I had a space. So then I go to the next one, whatever. And so if I had spaces between them, I think that would be helpful.
Yes.
The other thing that would be helpful, like Tara said, is to have the 19 and compare to the, either the 19 or what we're truly forecasting that we're spending in 19.
Either is fine, budgeted or expected.
Right.
okay.
Either one, because we might have had 0 budgeted, but we've already spent 50,000
Yep.
there. So maybe it's 3 lines, I don't know. And then anything that is part of this new request, anything that was on the right-hand side of anybody's presentation is essentially highlighted, with the exception of the presentation we heard earlier today, because some of that is not new.
Right.
So just only his new stuff.
That's right. And so you'll see, like, for instance, if you look at, I'm trying to find one here, like the HR specialist, you'll see that that's, allocated at 60,000. It's listed as new, but we know it's a realignment of money, but but it's in
right.
there, is my point. Like,
Correct.
it's our, so
Yep.
we'll just flag that, we'll make it yellow or something, so everything stands out.
Right.
And I think one other thing to just lessen up the grid of numbers on the left-hand column,
Yep.
I think it could be broken down, we can eliminate all of this. I'm talking about on this.
Yeah, on the detail sheet.
And just do it by 1110, 1210,
Okay, just the
1220,
function codes.
maybe? And then under it, the sub number of the 119, 201, 405.
Okay.
Yeah, because only this number
Because really all you need is
that
this.
guys
changes
here.
Right, the last.
with this,
right.
if as long as it's under that code.
Yep.
Yep.
But
That
that
works.
might be a lot of cut it. If this is transferring
Is this
over, it's
Excel,
just
is this
taking.
Excel,
Yeah,
or
we
this is
took-
his own?
Excel, it might be.
No, we took everything out of Budget Sense into Excel, so we
this
could
is
move it
Excel,
around.
So
and-
you can, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But will he manually have to? He'll manually have to.
he's not here to defend himself.
If you take those
We'll be
numbers
fine.
away.
He's on vacation, a lot of work. What happens
Yeah,
when you
then
take
you
a
get
will be
vacation
fine.
back.
That's what happens when you're not here.
When
You
you
get
take a
volunteered.
vacation, you get volunteered.
Change up your whole report.
You will
This is a
No,
great
we've-
report, though.
We've got,
I-
he and I went through like a few iterations of this already. So we have a new expression we use from this book that we've been reading called Daring to Lead, and it's this paint done. I know that sounds silly, but when, we had to define, what does the final product look like? Because we kept coming at this from different angles.
Right.
And then we kept adding and modifying and changing, so we finally got to the point where we said, let's just paint done. What does done look like for you? So that's what I'm asking all of you to do, so.
Yep, yep.
When we come back to this next week, we can actually just get into the numbers and not have to tease all that out.
Because,
Flipping.
so here's, does anybody have any more questions about the school committee ones? Before I move on to next week?
I think I have to look through it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
figure it out.
So my goal, or my hope, next week, is to come comfortable. Come to really dig into this stuff, and look at it, and hopefully maybe
Are we still starting at 6, or do we move it? Is it 6?
well, yeah, because we have 5 o'clock, we have,
Policy at 5.
policy at 5. So, yeah, we're starting at 6, but, to just come, to be able to dig in, to really say, here's what it looks like. Yes, this does make sense. No, this doesn't make sense. But to put our thoughts into priorities. So really read through what each cost center manager gave us and have a sense of what because we need to come out of next, is it Wednesday or Thursday?
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday, with a clear directive to Matt and Jason of, this is the budget we want to see put together.
Do you want to give it
Because-
to the groups on the following meeting? Is that
What?
Sorry, did I cut you off? On the 6th, we were going to present it to the town.
Correct.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So.
But we're not going to
so
meet in between to.
We're not. So that's why that's why I'm saying, dress
Okay, Sorry,
comfortable.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Because we really need to have that number that they're going to start to put together, so that our meeting on the 5th, when we present it to the towns,
Sixth?
we're saying, or 6th,
Okay.
sorry, we're saying, here's what we need. Here's the money that we are asking for. And that will be their opportunity to say, we can, we can't, we need to shift, we need to adjust, and we'll need to have another discussion, kind of shift and adjust that. If we feel the need, we may say, here is what it is. But anyway, come out of that meeting with a clear sense, so that we go into our meeting on the 13th with a budget that is our public hearing, and this is what we're proposing. And
And
so
on the
regardless of what town does or what town doesn't do, this is what we're asking.
And on the 6th, those people at the table need to know those numbers might change for the 13th,
Well, no, they
They're
have the
hoping they
ability to
won't.
change them. They have, they don't have the ability to change them, but they have the
Discuss.
ability to express their opinion, their idea. That needs to be the open dialogue. That needs to, we're invited to Millville's Finance Committee, we're invited to Blackstone Finance Committee. We have both the finance committees right there. We'll still do our meetings with each one individually, but we have them both right there. Let them talk to each other about, based on what they're seeing, what they can do, what they can't do, how they have to shift and adjust, how we'd have to, amend some of whatever we have to do, we all have the plan of what we're going to do that night moving forward. So that when we go to our budget meeting on the 13th, it's not a surprise to anybody. It's not new, it's not a shocker, and then it doesn't change from there. If one town doesn't pass it, it's still going with the same number to the next town, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, the only variable in any of that will be the state aid.
Yeah,
What
well, yeah,
comes,
yeah,
what
yeah.
transportation reimbursement or
yeah.
whatever with that. Yeah.
So is it fair to say that what you're coming in with as modified is your recommendation?
Yes, those
Okay.
would be the recommendations. And that,
So it might actually be less work for us. I would still come comfortable, but there's going to be that.
Yes, but I did
Happy
say,
medium.
they needed to put in everything new. Because we need to have that discussion on what we're willing to support new. So they may not recommend a new
The .5
lawnmower.
nurse, because he was going to,
Right.
or we
with
may have
reason.
found ways to absorb.
Yeah,
Like that's one of the things Matt and I are doing.
Right.
Or a better solution.
Yeah.
to-
right.
Is looking to say, do we need X, or can we get rid of, there's 25,000 here, can we apply that toward this position, or
Correct.
toward that need?
Right.
So we'll have those
Have that.
recommendations will be in here.
Yeah.
The best to our bill, the best that
Right.
we can. Meaning with
yeah.
the money we have,
Of course.
you know.
So, I guess I'm looking for guidance from you all at this moment. Between now and next week, is it better to look at the if I'm going to sit and analyze and really focus on this in front of me, is it better to look at the modified or the zero-based to start?
So I don't think
What
either,
is anybody-
to answer your question, Tammy, I don't think either.
Oh,
I
okay.
think you're better used, or our time is better used, to look at these requests that came before us. To look at, I mean, I have them, in order of the way that they came. And I have other things too, clearly, but, I have Millville, and I have JFK, and again, I know it's, and I have the special ed, and look at those and say, okay, we know that with zero-based or zero-based modified or whatever, it brings us to a level we can't,
We can't fund it.
we can't justify. We can't fund it. We know our communities, neither one of them can afford. So we asked the people who presented to prioritize their priorities, and we all have our notes on that, and then we have to prioritize their priorities, essentially. So I think our time is better spent kind of going through those and saying, I can really justify that, we need to not have string on our snow blower or whatever one it was, lawnmower, I don't know what it was. But I can't justify a new blah, 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 blah. And I think when we see the modified number or the recommended number, if in fact they can shift and adjust enough things that it now looks like a reasonable number, yeah, our conversation may be easy. But if it's still a kind of pie in the sky, really where we should be, but knowing the constraints that we have, we still aren't there, that's when we'll have to have our in-depth, where do we go from here? And I think we have to remember what our goals were, because we had a workshop really early on, right after Jason started almost, that said, these are the things that we want to focus this district towards. And I think we have to remember that when we're putting our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, and we can even start our conversation with a brief overview of those, just so everybody gets why we're trying to tether the dollars and cents back to our goals.
Anything else?